And I worked with like seed stage, pre-seed stage founders for 5 years, and I still made dumb mistakes. My crap meter isn't full enough that I have to quit. I think there's something wrong with people around me because they support me with everything. I thought that I could launch this in 3 months. Right when I started, I thought, I started in Jan. I thought I could launch this by March or April. Yeah, and you could see how that went.
Hey Tanmay, so I heard you sell drugs.
Yes, I do, but they are completely legal. We sell amazing nicotine candies that help people quit smoking.
When did you know you had to start Crave Nicotine?
My earlier startup failed, and I was kind of depressed. And I started putting down a bunch of ideas down on a sheet of paper. This was one of the ideas there. I also had a personal connect with this idea because I'm a cancer survivor myself, and I one of my life goals is to not is for people to not go through what I went through.
What gave you the courage to take that first step?
Honestly, I've always been a very high risk individual, if that's the right phrasing. I take big risks. I was decided on the fact that it's very difficult for me to do a traditional job. Honestly, I just suck at it. Uh, I I have a tough time. The people with me have a tough time. Especially the people who are like, I have an authority problem. I'm pretty sure, and that's where I knew that I had to do things which are not exactly like a job.
How long did you think about this idea before actually starting it?
I did not take a very long time to think about it, as I do with most things in my life, unfortunately. I got this idea. I started speaking to people. I spoke to almost 100 smokers to understand their journey, their quitting journey, and what they have been through, the struggles that they faced. I understood the problem and the current solutions in the market, and that's where it was basically a timeline of 20 to 30 days where I figured, okay, maybe this is something that I should go ahead with.
What was life like before you started?
I ran a small fund. I sort of moved out of that, and then I started building something in the marketplace for chemicals, which are very jargony, long as VC term. Things did not work out. Classic sort of co-founder conflicts, unfortunately. No bad blood. And then I just took a trip to deal with things, and then I just went for this.
Did you have any fears before you started?
No, there are no fears per se, right? I can be a little objective about things in the sense that, okay, this is idea. This is, a product. Let's test it out in the market. Let's see if it works out, right? And then have contingencies as to like, if it works to a certain degree, then what I'll do. Or if it doesn't work at all, then what I'll do.
Did the people around you support you?
Yeah. I think there's something wrong with people around me because they support me with everything. I'm grateful to have such people, but yeah, it can lead to some very interesting choices in life.
Did you have a business plan when you started?
We went with the riskiest proposition. So we created a very new age brand. I was playing Cyberpunk 2077 while I was creating the brand. So basically everything that you see about the brand is very cyberpunk, lo-fi, 80s aesthetic with Miami Vice vibe to it. And also I wanted to create sort of a distinction between other brands which look like medicine. And that's where people are a little averse to it. My sort of lozenges or candies, which feel like something that you could try out. It feels more inviting or more interesting per se.
How much money did you start the business with?
It's interesting because the amount of money that we invested here is actually not a lot. Because of my past, I had the right kind of resources and I knew people who could help me get to like, 0 to let's say 0.1, 0.2 fairly fast. And that's what I did.
And who were these people that you knew that helped you get to this point?
So I knew there were manufacturers or manufacturing tech companies that I, evaluated during my VC days. I knew those guys well, and they were, really kind enough to help me set up my supply chain because we are technically a narcotic substance, right? So like it's very difficult to get licenses and everything else. It was an absolute pain in the ass, honestly. So to figure that part out, they helped me a lot. The Vancha studio that we are sort of associated with Sector 7, they build the brand, the identity and everything, the packaging. And these were the two key nodes that helped me sort of start out.
When you started, were you more excited or more anxious?
I'm the kind of personality that's almost always anxious. Like if I am not achieving numbers or I'm not achieving targets, and I've seen this with most entrepreneurs. I had the fortune of working with a bunch of great ones, in my opinion. We all have this anxiety that keeps us up at night. So there's anxiety, but there's also a lot of excitement, and there's also a lot of purpose. We have this initiative that's literally called F Cancer. And what we do is we take parts of our proceed and sort of contribute it to various organizations working with cancer sort of warriors. So, and that's a very fulfilling journey.
In the first 30 days of starting, what were the exact steps you took to go from idea to something real?
First 30 days, I think the most important thing that I believe in any startup is actually just talking to customers, right? Try to find as many people as I can talk to and literally have like a 30-minute, 15 to 30-minute conversation about their, there were a few sort of questions that I really wanted to understand, but a free flowing conversation to understand what their journey is, what are they thinking, why do they want to quit? If they want to quit, if they've tried quitting, have they used nicotine? And a bunch of other questions. I wanted to understand my consumer. After that, I had to figure out how to actually start making the products and actually start selling the products, which was, it did not take 30 days. It took almost a year because it was like essentially we had the first batch, it had some problems. Then we had the second batch, but these are sample batches. So we sampled at least 3 or 4 times with people, perfected the product, right? Figured out the regulations, and then launched.
How do you decide how to distribute your time between product, marketing, customer research?
Whatever is pressing at that point, I have to really go and like fix it. So right now it's basically putting out a lot of fires. So it's just about figuring out, okay, how do I go from where I am right now to, to the next sort of stage of the business or the idea. And then making sure we are at least crawling, if not, walking or running right now.
What was one resource, tool, or connection that has been a game changer for you?
There are like 3 folks that really helped me. The manufacturing tech company that helped me understand the right sort of MOQs, the right sort of processes. And they were very kind enough to like spend time with me without any benefit to them. And they helped me with figuring out the supply chain. Second one was my current manufacturer, who basically took an absolute bet on me. He's like, boss, your MOQs are low. I'm not going to make any money, but I like your idea. Let's try it out. And he went for it. And I'm really eternally grateful to him for that. And obviously Sector 7, who helped us with the branding, the marketing, the packaging, the website. And he continues, and Yash, who is the founder of Sector 7, continues to be a very, very important advisor to the company.
How long before you made your first rupee?
It was a long and arduous journey of like 1.5 years of like figuring out the product, making sure the formulation was right, because we had to make sure that the taste was right, the amount of nicotine was right, the fact that it sort of doesn't get spoiled for a certain period of time, that was right, the licenses were right, and then the regulation was right. So it was 1.5 years of running around India of figuring this out.
What was the dumbest thing you wasted time on when you started your business?
The first mistake was I thought that I could launch this in 3 months. Right. When I started, I thought, I started in Jan. I thought I could launch this by March or April. Yeah. And you could see how that went.
What is one thing that you wish you could warn every first time founder about?
I worked with like seed stage, pre-seed stage founders for 5 years, and I still made dumb mistakes. So one thing I've realized is you can warn people about things, but you're gonna, somehow make certain mistakes on your own. It's almost inadvertent. So honestly, I would just say start, right? I think one mistake that people think, if things are right, if I have enough money, if I've got the right founder, if I've got the right team, if I've got the right skills, then I could start. There are lots of ifs and buts, but you just got to go for it. What I've realized, just start and figure things out.
What are the major forms of marketing that you use to get the message across?
I would say there are 2 sort of sides to this question, right? What I'm doing right now, it's been like 2 months since I've launched bootstrapped so far. When you're building a consumer company, what I've realized, you've got to tap all channels, right? Which I'm starting to do right now. So one is obviously your performance marketing and through Google, Meta, Snapchat, whatever it is. Organic social media is fairly important. There is SEO and now generative engine optimization, GEO, which is very important. Then there would be retail, offline marketing of sorts. So basically the sort of material I keep in pawn shops, in pharmacies, in retail stores, keeping, basically hiring people to sort of talk about the product. You have to tap all channels, is what I've realized, and see what works better and just double down on that one.
How do you decide who your target market is in terms of the price point?
That's where my past helped me because we invested in a lot of consumer companies. And before I was part of like those investment firms, I started when I was 17. So I started working at a couple of early stage D2C brands. This is back in the day when the term D2C did not exist. So 2014, 2016, I was literally 16, 17 years old. I worked at Juicifix, I worked at Oziva, founders' apartments, literally. From then on, I've been very interested in consumers. I like talking to consumers, understanding consumers. And basically, I've also invested in a bunch of companies and seen how their journeys went. That's where I understood that there are some basics to the Indian market. One is we are very, very highly price point sensitive. Secondly, there's key things that you really need to hit in terms of running a consumer brand, right? In terms of gross margin, inventory, and so on and so forth. For me, it was important to sort of figure out, okay, I have to hit a certain gross margin. So our products, the idea is we want a lot of repeat. To sort of encourage a lot of repeats, we have to make sure that the price is just right, where it's not too high, where it sort of discourages repeat. It's not too low, where people think that it's not a premium product person. And that's where we hit that price for 120 rupees, which people are liking so far.
Do you pay yourself a salary?
No, absolutely not. I'm pretty broke right now.
So far, what have you spent money on to set up the business and get things in place?
Inventory, right? The actual supply chain, putting in the money to get the right regulations, the right products, the right manufacturers, and then having an inventory of product so that we don't run out of stock. That is where a lot of the money has gone into. A lot of money could have gone into like branding and marketing, but I've got the right venture studio with me that basically takes care of the website, the packaging, the design front. Then the biggest line item is now going to be marketing. Since supply chain is fairly figured out, I will be spending a lot on marketing. And marketing includes both performance and organic, and the team also that runs that whole thing.
What keeps you up at night?
I am generally like a insomniac. I feel can't fall asleep very, very early. Everything keeps me up at night. Like if I have to, as I said, you have to push the envelope in terms of what you want to achieve. Sometimes you're not able to do that because you're putting out fires, and that's basically if I'm behind on a certain thing, that keeps me up at night.
Has there ever been a moment where you thought, maybe I'm not cut out for this?
No, actually, it's going to sound a little narcissistic, but the whole idea of being cut out is just absolute bullcrap, right? Because I've seen the most accomplished people not being able to pull something off because of my past experience, and I've seen people who you wouldn't really how do I say gauge as people who could build things, build fantastic organizations, and that's why I realized it's all about just doing it. Right? Doesn't matter who you are, where did you study, how much money you have. You just you figure things out and you go for it, and you just solve those problems.
What's been your greatest challenge as an entrepreneur?
I don't think there's like specific challenge as an entrepreneur. I've realized that I have to wake up, I have to solve whatever I can solve in a day, and whatever is remaining, I'll solve the next day. I have to just like let go.
What's something you didn't have when you started that you wish you did?
It would have been nice to have a bit more resources for me to spend building a team, because I think the most important thing for any startup is a team that you build, right? And my experience at Oziva is basically has been acquired by Unilever. It's one of the largest nutraceuticals companies nowadays. But when we started, when Aarti and Mihi, the founders, started out in like the apartment, that team that I had around me, most of them are still with Oziva. And I think that is what made Oziva work, apart from multiple other things. But that is one of the key things, and that's what I would want, right?
What's one assumption that people have about startups that you feel is completely wrong?
People nowadays have a lot of assumptions because of Shark Tank. One thing is, people are a little dismissive of startups because they think it's a very loss-making sort of companies and all of that. I think that's a very limited view of what companies can become, right? Startups burn a lot of money and are not profitable because they're trying to build things that have not existed so far. And if they are able to do that, it really changes the landscape of whichever sector they are in. And I think people can be a little bit more dismissive of that.
One mistake that can kill a new business fast.
I think the biggest mistake I've seen is not something that kills a business. It just like prevents it from being born, which is like just thinking about it and just thinking, okay, I need A, B, C, D before I can start. You don't need anything before you start. Just go for it. If you need something before you start, figure it out, go for it.
What's one thing that everyone says about sales, but is just not true?
I think people see sales as this, almost like a snake oil sort of situation, selling situation, and think of it as a little, they look down upon it to a certain degree, some of, in terms of sales. Like everybody who is like, even doing certain kind of sales, they'll say, I'm in marketing. They will not say, I do sales because people look down upon sales. And when I was 17, the first job I got was by just knocking on doors. Literally, like Juicifix, Oziva, both the places. I literally knocked. I told people, do you want somebody that can help you with, XYZ? And they were like, okay, come back with the presentation. Came back with the presentation, got that offer, right? So I have been like just reaching out to people all my life, right? And same thing is with this current organization. It's just like you have to pick up the phone, call people, and tell them, okay, boss, can you help me with this? And people help you, and it's salesy, and also like talking about your company and what you're doing is also kind of salesy, but you have to do that because I think how will people know about what you're doing? How will people help you get to where you want to be?
Is it easy to get people to help you?
Yeah, big people are amazing. I actually have very few refusals. This is what I've realized. Like if I ask somebody to help me with this and it's not unreasonable, then they usually, maybe if they're not able to do that exact thing, they will help me get to where I want to be.
Has there ever been a moment in the last year and a half that you felt like quitting?
I have a larger threshold of pain and risk than most people. And I'm not trying to be narcissistic. It's just like I can take a lot of crap and keep going. So far, my crap meter isn't full enough that I have to quit.
What's one thing you thought mattered before you started Crave, but actually didn't?
I thought keep brand matters. It doesn't. Like people don't care. The first you don't have enough eyeballs in the first 1.5, 2 years, and if you can build a brand retrospectively. So I thought that mattered more than it did. It does matter, but not as much as people think.
So what does matter?
It's about solving the problem. Basically, you have to talk to users. You have to be in constant touch with consumers. Understand why are they using the product. Understand who are your consumers. When they wake up in the morning, what's the first thing they do? What's the second thing they do? What do they do at work? And that is what matters. And then when you understand them, you have to figure out, okay, where does your product plug into their lives and what does it solve for them?
What do you wish you had known before you started?
I think just how hard the regulation would be, man, for this. It was generally so freaking irritating to like deal with the regulation in India about this stuff. But yeah, now that we have figured it out, it's kind of sort of like a moat that we have because, for somebody else to figure this out, it's going to take a little bit of time, because how irritating that whole process is.
If you could go back to day one, what would you do differently?
I would start with a bit more capital. I wouldn't hedge my bets as much as I did, right? I would really try to go all in and just be a little bit more aggressive with the timelines. But, honestly, a lot of things for us were dependent on external factors. But yeah, that's what I would do.
What's one smart, low-cost hack or a shortcut that you used early on that anybody watching can try?
Just picking up my phone and calling people and asking them for help. That's it. Like, boss, can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? I don't know how to do this. Can you tell me how to do that? And it's not a very hard skill. You have to just cross that bridge of ego. The good thing about startups specifically is like people are very open to help you. Reach out to founders and, reach out to a bunch of them and then eventually somebody will, help you out.
What would you say to someone watching this who knows they want to start something but hasn't?
Just start. There's no rocket science behind it. If you don't know how to build something, figure out how to do it and find somebody who can help you do it. You have a problem, solve it. It's a bunch of problems to be solved. Entrepreneurship is nothing, there's no esoteric knowledge that you need to have or networks you need to have. You just need to start and figure stuff out.
Grateful for your time today, Tanmay. I'm sure this will inspire a lot of people.
I hope so. Thank you, Shai.